what's going on? Welcome back to United View. Welcome back to the channel. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We are back with another catch up with the Muppeteers, Mr. James Rhodes, man. Big up to you, bro. How you doing, man? How you doing? Talk to me.
Doing well. Yes, doing well, all things considered. I mean, another season not going the way we hoped. Another time when we were talking in summer, just having some hopes that things would be better. We've got new owners, we've got new transfers, and it's same business as usual, isn't it?
Same business as usual, man. I mean, there's only one place to start, bro. I mean, you do great work, all the way over there in the States, but doing great work, giving us sometimes a lot of great insights as well. So we love the work you've been doing. But from your position, bro, from where you're viewing us right now, where are you at with the Ten Hag situation? How are you understanding it to be? Have you heard anything? How do you feel?
Yeah.
All of
it. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but not particularly surprised with where things have ended up this summer. After the summer, where things have ended up now, where we are today, because the way things that obviously went down in summer, you could kind of, everybody could tell by the end. Everybody knew, the issue that we had seen kind of all along, that with INEOS coming in and everyone coming in, Ten Hag really wasn't their guy, and they did. What was it in the end? 2.5 weeks after the FA Cup final, they were looking at managers, they were talking, they were discussing. They've been interviewing people for weeks before that and talked to 6, 7, 8 other managers. And anybody could say, that they did all of that and ended up with Ten Hag because he's better than the rest of them. But we know there's a little bit more to it than that. And and at the end of the day, I think the concern that I always had is that if he's not their guy, then there's a little bit of like, how's this going to work in the long term? Like good or bad, whether Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out, it doesn't really matter at that point. It's more like, if he's not your guy, exactly what you want, then it's always going to be this underlying concern, this underlying doubt. And you're going to start the next season. And if it goes poorly, the questions are going to come up like instantly, right away. The pressure's going to be on, the situation is there. You get a lot of conflict. And I think that's kind of where we're at this point in time, is that they've given a lot of tools to Ten Hag in their mind to give him the best chance to have a good season. And, we've got a few injuries, but nothing like urgent, nothing too crazy, nothing like last year. I mean, we've been able to play a solid front three, a solid midfield, and a solid back line better than last year in all cases. And at the end of it, we're still kind of doing worse than ever. I mean, points wise, it's worse than ever.
It's worse, bro. Yeah.
Somehow it's worse. And the big games have been disastrous. We're conceding more chances. It's a mess. And so I think where things are at is at the moment, if it was INEOS are a little bit careful, right? When I say INEOS now, talking specifically like Sir Jim, Dave Brailsford, these guys who are sitting on that football board, essentially with Joe Glazer, even though they obviously have the say and he's involved as the majority owner still. They've got the say, but they want to be a little careful because one of the things they said they learned at Nice early on, they kind of did too much. They felt like they did too much as the owners stepping in. And we know that in the past, one of the concerns we've all had with the Glazers is Joe Glazer interfering in things too much. But it's kind of funny now because everybody wants him to. Everybody's like,
Sir
Jim,
like, make the choice, like, do it now, pull the trigger.
Yeah, exactly. They want him to do it now that we've got football and people in place. People want the owners to step in, and I understand it. I do. I can't even say I disagree. I think personally making a change at the manager is the right decision. And you gave it a try, but you can see that whatever was the reason it wasn't going to work before hasn't improved and hasn't gotten any better, despite everything. So, yeah, I mean, people want him to step in, but they want to, they went through like 6 managers in 4 years at Nice when they took over, like a lot of changes. And I know they don't want that kind of chaos here. They want some stability. And so there's a lot of things to consider here. One is that, Dan Ashworth has only been there a very short amount of time. And at the end of the day, he's going to be the one likely making a decision overall. And, and that's going to make it that's what they need, and that's what they want. They want somebody to be doing that and making that recommendation. But it's not just about letting him go. Then it's also about what comes next, and that is a serious part of that discussion that they haven't figured out, because this is kind of the difficult thing. It's not that easy to replace a manager in October. Who are you replacing him with? And if you're really thinking for long-term consequences, who's out there? If you want someone for 3 or 4 years to build this club, who's available that you actually can get and that fits with what you want? So all that's been discussed this week, all that's been discussed, all that's been together. Obviously the club are really not acknowledging any of this in general.
No, they're going down the whole, listen, that's our meeting, mate. We always have our meeting. We ain't telling you what we said.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that they don't want, like, after summer, I mean, it was an awkward
It played out so
situation, you know what I
publicly in
mean?
summer.
Like,
Yeah.
it's awkward. It's awkward for Ten Hag and awkward for INEOS and awkward for everybody. And so they don't want to sit there and say, like, yeah, we're talking about managers again, and it's the international break and it's October and it's all of that. I mean, so they're not gonna, and I think that if a change is made, it's going to be more like a sort of, they're not going to really comment on anything. We're going to get that silence, and then out of the blue one day, Ten Hag is leaving, and whatever is happening next. But they've been exploring everything, and I think that so Jim, Ineos side of it, they'd be looking at it and saying, yeah, we think a change is in order, but we're going to go with your recommendation. And if that recommendation right now is to give it a few more games and see how it goes, then that's what we have to do. And we'll follow that. So it's difficult. It's a difficult situation there, because I don't know what's going to change after a couple of days.
I don't think anything will,
But really it's on Dan Ashworth now, because he's going to be looking at, okay, it's kind of like some people might understand as being in different job positions and things like that. Your boss might come in and say, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but things need to improve, right? We need to see things get better. So you got to do something now, and you have to figure out the right course of action. And you might be saying, well, I just need to tweak what I'm doing and it'll get better. But if that doesn't happen quickly, you're looking at the alternatives. And so I think that's where Ashworth, Arada, and them are going to be at right now is, all right, we know things have to change, because from an ownership standpoint, being in 14th, they're trying to get the stadium done. They're trying to do these things. You need money. You cannot be sitting in 14th. You're going to be losing Champions League money. You're going to be losing Adidas money. You're going to have difficulty with players. You're going to have difficulty with shirt sales, all sorts of things when you're in this bad a position. And so that is a consideration where ownership then steps in and says, look, it's actually damaging the club as a whole if this continues. So the pressure is there, and they're going to be looking at it. And I think why some people aren't committing, right, to go on and on about this, but why people aren't committing to saying, like, for sure he's staying for the next game yet. Even and no journalist really is committed to that yet, right?
No.
Because they haven't said it, they haven't clarified it. They probably won't. And because in truth, Dan Ashworth's got to be looking at all the scenarios now over this break. And maybe if he decides 2 days from now, you know what, I got a better plan that's going to turn things around, and it's Eric leaving, and we're going to do this. He can do it. He has that remit. He has that approval from the board, essentially, to do what they need to do to fix things. So, it is open-ended in that respect. And everybody should understand that, contingency plans are in order and are being looked at, and the pressure is on. But that's how it is in a high-performance environment. You've got to have that pressure. And you also have to be planning for the contingencies too.
Yeah, I think, I was surprised that they didn't pull the plug now. But the more I'm thinking about it, not from a fan point of view, because I have my opinion now. I'm firmly in the camp of, like, it's over. He has to go. But from their point of view as INEOS, I don't agree with it. But they're basically saying, let's just see this little batch of fixtures coming up.
Yeah.
this is like last chance saloon, and I don't think there should be any more last chance saloon. I think they're waiting for the inevitable. I think they're ultimately
Yes.
wasting upon time that basically should have happened in the summer. Even though I and a lot of other people were sort of, as fans saying, give him more time, etc., etc. They clearly probably didn't want to. That was their main
Mhm.
gut feeling, and now
Yeah.
we're seeing that they basically should have gone with their gut. And for me, I think I think maybe in danger is probably a little too strong of a phrase, but they run the risk maybe of people early on in their tenure, fans going, well, you said to us it was about higher standards. You said you're not afraid to make the big decisions and this, that, and the other. You can see this isn't going to get better. So why are you not? What's going on here? But at the same time, as fans, we're emotional. We're like, do it now. But like you said, if there's no plan, like if they sacked Eric Ten Hag right now, and then we saw that they weren't ready to get another manager, and then there was no plan, or chose the wrong manager, then again, we're in chaos even more. And look, there are no guarantees. We're trying to work to things where we're like, we want to go, right, sack him and bring him in because we know that he will do way better than this and he'll bring us back to the top. That's what we want. But it
Mhm.
doesn't exist. Like, you have
Mhm.
to keep going. That's the whole reason we're in this
Yeah.
spiral. We have to keep going until we find the right fit. But it doesn't seem like it's Ten Hag. And my worry is that, there's another international break in November after these 7 games in 3 weeks, I think it is. Really, really quick turnaround. Games are coming thick and fast, which if you're playing well is great. If you're not playing well, it's not great. If you lose in loads of
Yeah.
games, it's not great. But from Eric's perspective as a professional, it's the chance for them to keep getting quick games and fix this quickly,
Yep.
because appearances and complexities can change very, very quickly on results. We know that.
Mm.
But I think the fans are not sold on a false dawn anymore at the moment. Like if we beat
Yeah.
Brentford, then beat Fenerbahce, and then beat Chelsea, yeah, that would be great. 3 wins in a row where we're like, wow. But people would be like, nah, I've seen this before. This is
Mhm.
that, and I just don't think there's going to be enough that's going to turn around by the next international break that will show us anything different. And then INEOS will be like, right, now we'll do it. And then it's nearly Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got that straight run through. There's no real Christmas break anymore, so you have a straight
No,
run through to
exactly. Like,
January,
when are
and
you? What
then
are they waiting for?
the season's, and then that's it. Because you rarely are replacing a manager in the second half of the season,
No.
for the final
What do you
few
think? What do you
months.
think they're waiting for, Jen? Do you think they're waiting for like that one? Because technically, this is 2 draws going into this. Like, if we would have lost
Yeah.
against Porto and lost against Villa, then it's like it would be over. So essentially, they're saying because Harry Maguire scored in the last minute against Porto, because we played 4-4-2 against Villa and luckily got a draw, they're basically saying that's enough. What do you think they're waiting for? Is it embarrassment against Brentford? Is it embarrassment from Jose Cole Palmer to dunk on us? What is it going to be?
It's a good question, and when I asked about it, I didn't really get it as like if we lost those games, he would be gone. If we drew those games, he's staying. If he won, he'd have more time. It's kind of like, I think the difference between the Harry Maguire scoring that and the draw and the loss is not really much of a difference in their eyes in terms of the performance, which is the important part of it. I don't think they were particularly ready to make a change yet, no matter what, because things have gone bad so fast. I mean, I don't think anybody, I mean, I had huge doubts. I did not expect us to be worse than last season under any
No.
circumstances, right? I don't think anybody did. If we were sitting here, you know, 12 points, 11 points, 10 points, doing a little bit okay, some good performances, but we're not
In and
scoring the
around it,
goals. Everybody be like, all right, yeah, it's we get, and that's, I think, was their worst case. Like, we're gonna see flaws still, because what they were measuring was like, we know that there's problems with Ten Hag's approach, but we want to give him a chance to fix it. The problem is those problems have not just not been fixed, but gotten worse, and we've seen new ones open up. You could get into all the tactical sides of it and everything, but there's just huge issues, right, that aren't really coming together in any case. And I just don't think they were ready. I don't think they were ready to make a change this quickly, and
yeah, they
and
weren't.
and
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I mean, that's such a short turnaround. I mean, it would be the earliest we've ever sacked a manager, Manchester
Yeah.
United, right? Now Liverpool did it with Brendan Rodgers. I think this when they let Brendan Rodgers go was during this break. But man, it's unusual. It's unusual. And who did they have to bring in was different. It's also like, who could you bring in at this point in time? You know, I'm glad to see that Gareth Southgate has ruled himself out, because I've been
Good.
ruling him out for a long
We
time. But that
we
is
didn't want you anyway, Gareth. You rule. Go ahead and rule away, mate. You weren't coming here anyway.
exactly. So I'm glad to see that. But obviously, like, if they had wanted him, they could have just got him. You know, Graham Potter's available. They're not getting him, so they don't really want him, right? He's been down the list.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. I mean, it's like you said, we all want that guaranteed fix. This is going to fix everything. The best long-term plan is that they take their time and appoint the right person next summer, right? Because realistically, the best manager for the club is someone who's in a job right now and is not going to leave midsummer. I mean, if you think about good up-and-coming managers, if you
James,
shoot
how
for the
about Thomas
stars,
Tuchel? Let's just go to the big name.
yeah, let's talk about that, right? Because that's really the only person
because he's sitting there
available
right now
Yeah.
watching United View and Muppeteers, bro.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And there is a clamor for Thomas Tuchel, right? Because of course, as well, people who saw him, you know, go into Chelsea mid-season, take over, win a Champions League. You can't underrate
He's done it
that.
before.
That is an incredible achievement. And so, yeah, the question is, and I will always ask this question when people bring it up, is that if Thomas Tuchel wanted the job, why isn't he in it?
I know.
When he sat down with Jason Wilcox and he sat down with Sir Jim back in June, and they discussed everything, if he wanted the job, why isn't he in it?
But was it? And the
that's
thing
a
with
concern.
that, though, bro, is it because I swear that I feel like the real truth of those meetings and that review, there's a lot of speculation and hearsay. There's speculation that Thomas Tuchel turned us down, didn't like the project, or didn't want to be, you know, underneath INEOS and be, you know, not the puppet, but, you know, the head coach who gets told what to do, etc., etc. But then there's other, you know, reports that claim Man United walked away from that. Man United said, for the money, and there's a lot of change as it is, and we'll stick with Eric. You know, there's two sides to it. Maybe Man United walked away from him, and now they go, I tell you what, we shouldn't have done that, Thomas. And yeah, he might say fuck off. Maybe he might say that at the start. But then they go, we were wrong. We didn't see eye to eye, or we were nearly there, weren't we, Thomas? Butter him up, whatever you want to say. But now we see it, and we want to do this, this, and this. You have talks with him, you give him assurances of X, Y, Z, and you agree to move on. Like, I remember when Spurs did that with Conte.
Yes.
You know, in the summer of 2021, was it 20? I can't, when?
Yeah, that must have been 22. Yeah, right.
22, and he didn't come.
It was when Tuchel was at Chelsea.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So he didn't come. Then they went back for him later on after they realized, shit, we need you. And I'm not saying that that's always the best way. I'm not saying it's the best way to plan, and, you know, but it happens in football, bro.
It does. And look, they could do it, right? Like, I think, either way, whether he turned it down, which I think he did. I'm going to be quite honest. I think he did. But either way, you could go back to that discussion, right? Omar's there now. Dan Ashworth is there now. You could go back to that discussion with Thomas and call him up and say, listen, I know because here's the thing. When you say that, the truth is, they were close enough that it's not like he's going to, like, get the phone call and, like, reject, you know, and he's just not gonna speak to them. If they got that close to the discussions, that deep into things, obviously there's a level of interest there from both sides, to even get to that point to where you could have it fall down at the final hurdle. And I think a lot of people thought he was going to take the job at that point in time. There was, like, little hints and things of people saying, oh, this review thing's going to be done, like, the next day. And then bang, you hear that Tuchel is in talks, and then an hour later it's that it all broke down, and it takes a few more days. So I think it was really quite close in that respect. But whoever it is, maybe you could figure it out. The question I do have that I'm not sure of is, they really do want their next manager to be, you know, this Project 150, right? 3 years, 4 years, win a title. Thomas Tuchel hasn't remained at a club for more than 2.5 seasons in his last 4 jobs. Now he's picking jobs that have high turnover.
Exactly.
Dortmund,
Unstable
PSG,
club.
Chelsea, and Bayern, they change managers like, you know, socks, right? So that's part of it. But then that's also been his choice, is to choose clubs where he knows there's a high turnover, where they do change all the time. He's had issues with the board at every single club. Maybe that's
Yeah,
their
yes,
fault.
yeah.
Maybe it's his fault, you know, but like there's always two sides to those stories. But is he for sure the guy that's going to take you 3 to 4 years? And when you look at the candidates who are presently in the job, I think you'd feel a little more confident about them. Like, let's say you shoot for the stars and you say, we're going to go for Xabi Alonso, right? Well, he's shown loyalty, you know, at Leverkusen when he could have taken a bigger job this summer and stayed, and he's stuck with a project and built it and, you know, has done what he's done. You take Ruben Amorim at Sporting, he's been there 4.5 years now, and he's going for a third title after they were 19 years without one. He's built a project there and a consistency and shown he knows what to do. You'd even take McKenna, who's stuck with Ipswich, you know, coming up, and then he had offers this summer and he stuck with them again.
New deal. So it's different characteristics, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Those the managers that maybe we would go after possess the characteristics that would suit Man United long term.
I think so. I think that's it, and it's never like this like all in one or the other type of thing.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like if you're measuring these people up, you're kind of saying, well, what's more important to us right now? Tuchel could save this year. I think he could. Will we have to change him in 2 years? You know, and then do we want to do that, or do we want to just wait it out, suffer, and appoint the right guy next summer for 3, 4, 5, 6 years and get a Klopp, get a Pep, get somebody who's going to be there.
Get me Tuchel now, and I'll see. Get me Tuchel now for a couple of years of no embarrassment, and we'll be able to get back in the Champions League. Actually, probably compete for the Champions League if you go on his record. When you're in it, he can navigate his way around it. Yeah. He was Emmanuel Neuer a mistake away from doing Real Madrid. Let's be honest. And then it was in that crazy moment. It went from tactical genius. Look at what he's done, right, over 2 legs,
right? Yeah.
To literally, why have you taken off Kane? Why have you taken off Musiala? And Manuel Neuer's thrown it in the fucking net. And then now you're a rubbish manager.
And how many times does that happens to club playing against Madrid in the Champions League? I mean, it's every year someone turns from a genius to a fraud in 10 minutes when playing against Madrid. So, you know,
it's the DNA.
I understand. No, look, and that's the discussion, and I get it, you know, and I don't know where they're going to land on that. You know, I don't think anybody does. I think that'll be part of the consideration. I think that if they were sure of it, then they'd make a change, right? Because if they were sure they could do something right now that was going to make things better, then they would do it. And that's what Ashworth has got to look at.
This is where, though, let's be honest, this is where Ruud van Nistelrooy comes into it, though. Because
indeed,
because results dictate everything. It doesn't matter what their long-term plan is. If we lose against Brentford or lose heavily again, if we don't pick up enough points within the next 3 games in all comps, like they're going to go, well, he's just got to go. We have to figure that out. He has to go. You know, it's the same with Ollie when he was hanging on and this, that. And then you lose 4-1 at Watford. You go, well, okay, it's over.
Yeah, we can't stick after
this. We can't do it. Jose, he was hanging on. We turned up to Anfield 3-0. Like it's over. And ironically, we've had 2 of those already this season.
Yeah.
So again, this is the worst it's ever been. Exactly. Both at home, right? So... And that's another thing. You could forgive those, you know, you can't really forgive losing 3-0.
It's worse at home than away. There's no doubt about that.
Bro. When team, especially Spurs, bro. Spurs pulling up, you know, they went and showed what they're made of straight away against Brighton. You know, they're not an amazing team. If anything, on paper, both teams are kind of par. Like that should have been a close game. And it was so alarming.
I mean, we were run through like nothing else.
Before the red card, it was just awful. So there's no excuses. But anyway, the results dictate everything. So if we have some stinkers in the next couple of games, he'll be gone before this international break even kicks in, which would automatically they'd have to put Ruud in post. Like it could get so bad that it must be Ruud. So then you go into the Ollie thing of like, okay, just see us out to the end of the season. Just just and then you can then go in the summer and try and go and get who you want to get. That I wouldn't be. If it's wait to the summer for a new guy for what you said, then just give it Ruud to the end of the season. Don't stick with Ten Hag for the rest of the season.
Agreed, and I think that what you're saying is totally correct. And part of the reason why it doesn't have to be during the international break, I think, is because Ruud is there.
Ruud's there, yeah.
Tomorrow, you know, you could lose, and the next day Ruud's taking over training. It's not like this big drama, you know, like you just, all right, we didn't work out. Ten Hag, see you later. You know, Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's taking over. He's there. You know, you're not even changing anything. Him and Rene Hake are already in every single training session. They're already doing it all. You're just essentially you're changing who's picking the team. You know, at
Yeah,
the end
it's
of the
just a
day,
Rude
at that
would just
point.
maybe pick one more coach, maybe that he
Exactly,
likes. That's the
exactly. You
only
know,
thing that
maybe
would
he
change to
brings
the end of the
someone
season.
else back that he
We
likes
get
to
Mike
come
Phelan
in.
back into the end of the season, bro.
Yeah.
I spent some
You
time with
know,
him yesterday. Why not?
oh yeah, how was that?
Yeah, it was good. He was talking about a lot of stuff, man, on Tuesday. So
Yeah.
it was good. And I asked him, I said, mate, if that phone call rings, you know, he goes, and you know what he said? He goes, I didn't want to leave in the first place. So
Mm.
obviously with the Ollie thing, obviously rightly so,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
he was moved on politely. But
Yeah.
you know, it is true how like that could happen. And when you break it down, unless it's Thomas Tuchel who's available, then just like you say, just go get him.
Correct.
That's the plan. You just, but obviously you have to have conversations with him about him accepting it and sort that out, which is why this could be taking too long because all the reports have come out saying Sir Jim wants him really.
And that is true, to be fair.
Yeah, and that's true. Or,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't mind giving it to Rude. And if we suffer in that time and Rude's not much better, at least you know you're getting to the end of the year where the reset again will come. You know,
Yeah, and I would
and people
imagine
won't hound Rude out if he's interim.
exactly,
If Rudy comes
exactly.
in and we're shit, no one's gonna go, "What's he fucking get Rude out?" If it is what
Yeah,
it is.
exactly. And I think you get the little bit of the benefit of what Ollie got. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
under Solskjaer, we had some really high moments in the beginning. By the end, I think we ended where we started with Ollie, you know,
yeah,
which it is what it is, right? But we were able to understand it through the season. As fans, it was much more tolerable that way with everything that happened. And there is a benefit to that, you know, at the end of the
yeah,
day, saying, okay, look, if it gets bad, we give it to Rude. He will get the time. He will get the support. He will get the patience from the fans. That will reduce the pressure on him. It's going to reduce the pressure on the players. And sometimes that alone will just give you a bit of a better showing on a day-to-day basis
yeah,
while we work towards. And the other thing I would say in benefit of that plan is I'm not saying you 100% want this, but Rude will take the direction of Ashworth and Wilcox and them.
yeah.
If
He
they're
will.
saying, look, this is what we want to build on, this is what we want to do, he'll do it.
Yeah,
And so in a temporary basis, that's good because when you have an interim coach, ideally, if you're not expecting amazing results, but you could expect them to work on the things you want them to work on, and he will do that. And he will do that. And so then, even though it could be a wasted year in some respects because we don't win things, it may not be a wasted year in terms of we continue to work on laying the foundations that we want to lay. When it's so bad, you're not laying any foundations, and I think that's the point where if it gets like that, you got to cut the cord and just say, let's be done with it. And Van Nistelrooy could help us just kind of lay in some basics over this year of how we want to play, how we want to set up, how we want to do things move forward, and then we'll get the right person in summer. And I think that's the more likely outcome, is that we go a few games, things don't get better, and they make that switch, and we ride that out to the end of the year. I think that's the more likely outcome.
yeah. And it's one actually before you've just kind of really put that in that way before we finish off. It's like I didn't really think of it like that. Like actually, if they want the long term guy, because I've just, do you know, what it is? It's my I want Tuchel, so I've just been so
Yeah.
give me Tuchel. I
I
haven't
get
really
it.
gone.
I get
Well,
it.
to be fair, you could just give it to Ruud to the end of the season because I don't really want Ruud to get it on a long term off of a bounce. Like
Me
no, he's
neither.
managed
Nope.
one season at PSV. Let's not do it. Let's not go there again.
And I
Take
don't
your
think they
time
would
and
do
find it.
that.
Yeah, you
Because
can't. You
if
can't.
Ollie, if they didn't give him that contract after PSG, I don't think he gets it by the end of the season,
No, he wouldn't.
And
He wouldn't.
so I don't think INEOS will be saying, "Oh, we get 5 good games, we're giving him the contract." They're not like
No
that.
chance.
So
Exactly.
yeah, they'll wait. They'll wait. And I
Yeah.
agreed though. I think most people don't want that. Like we have a little bounce and then you give him the job and it's like, wait a second, he was not really the right guy.
Exactly. We have to avoid that. Listen, James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us, man. Check out the Muppeteers. Check out the YouTube channel. Link is in the video description below. Doing great stuff. If you're not following the Muppeteers on X, then I don't know where you've been as a Man United fan, but make sure you do. Again, link is in the video description below. Bro, we'll catch up again for sure.
Yeah.
More regular. We need to do this more regular. People really enjoy it.
I'm
And
sure we could do
we
something by the next break, and who knows what will happen by
then. You might not see me, bro. I might quit and shut the channel down by then. But yes, definitely, bro. All right, take care, and we'll see how this international break plays out and what we can do with these 7 games in 2-3 weeks. So yeah, let's see. Take care, guys. Smash a like on this video and subscribe to United View if you guys haven't done so already. We're out of it.